So far, throughout this series, we have investigated the nature of the ether and its connection with plasma cosmology. This led our inquiry into the inner electrical forces of nature which animate the outer world, thus revealing the properties of a self-organizing universe, while at the same time reflecting the principle of hylozoism. We also looked at the three fundamental types of motion in the cosmos and their distinctive yet interconnected relationship. Throughout history, this has been symbolically expressed by all religious traditions as the Trinity, which is also known in the Ageless Wisdom as electric fire, solar fire, and fire by friction, or spirit, soul, and body. These three types of electrical energy and their inherent motion constitute all that is within the manifested cosmos. In the last episode, we explored the idea of a cosmic bloodstream circulating throughout all existence, and how the ether is the fluid or medium whereby cosmic will and desire can reach the physical plane by outwardly manifesting as a plasma. We also went a bit further and revealed the connection between the basic elements like hydrogen and oxygen and how they precipitate from the ethers, and that water has a memory. The ether is therefore the recording agent of all nature. Now in this episode, let's explore the building ingredient of all organic life, carbon, and how science is making incredible new discoveries which are helping to build the bridge between science and spirit. Once again, it's time to cross the electric bridge. Welcome to episode 5 of the Electric Bridge, Building the Carbon Temple. While the cosmic bloodstream is an ongoing feature of the electric bridge, a parallel focus can now be placed on the form that is being built and sustained through this fluidic electrical medium. As is commonly known, the basis of all organic life is carbon, and one of the secrets behind carbon's ability to form long polymer chains and construct organic forms is an inherent magnetic power. Until just recently, scientific theory deemed it impossible to magnetize carbon at room temperature due to the arrangement of its electrons. The magnetic club was an exclusive one, with just a few prestigious members, like iron and nickel, and a few other rare alloys. But now, as a result of sophisticated research into light, carbon has been officially recognized as part of this group, and science and technology are working to bring the two worlds of magnetism and carbon together, something the high priests of alchemy have known for ages. Magnetism is an ordering phenomena to scientists and spiritual occultists alike, the latter using it to transfigure the structure of forms into a more suitable housing for the spirit. Magnetic carbon has a central role to play in this process, carbon being the hidden and long searched for key to the Philosopher's Stone. The relationship between the inner and outer self revolves around the alchemy of carbon, and the current research into working electronically and magnetically with carbon has huge implications for the future. It will help humanity transcend the physical plane through new conceptions of time and space, and in the words of the Tibetan, We shall see each other and all forms of divine manifestation as light units of varying degrees of brightness, and we shall talk and think increasingly in terms of electricity, of voltage, of intensity, and of power. There are 7 fundamental types of electric power that the creative spiritualized human being can draw upon, and 7 corresponding types of matter. And the ensuing building work that lies at the heart of future electric masonry, where temples not made with hands will be constructed. The present discoveries of carbon and their application in nanotechnology is an exterior symbol of this future spiritual art and science. When humanity as a whole has progressed to a more spiritual state of consciousness, the electrical manipulation of carbon will be more widely practiced through natural capacities that lie dormant in every individual. Humanity will then start to work more consciously as one to transform the earth into a living temple. It will be a temple of transfigured carbon, with humanity as the diamond-souled kingdom, living and expressing itself through it. The key to initiating this great Masonic enterprise lies in an understanding of the 7th ray and its connection with the phenomena of electricity through which all life in the solar system is coordinated and vitalized. This is not merely an enigmatic mystical vision, but an intensely practical one, as an understanding of carbon's foundational role in the electric bridge will reveal the mystery of electricity to which HPB referred to in the Secret Doctrine. It emphasizes that all we have contacted and used today is that which is only physical and therefore limited to physical forms. Future scientific discoveries therefore hold the secret. The discovery of carbon's magnetic properties and its responsiveness to electrical manipulation is one of these secrets, but there are many more secrets that lie on the border of revelation. Before we fully dive into this, let's first explore some of the basic properties of carbon. Carbon is the 4th most abundant element in the universe, and due to its ability to form long polymer chains, it is the fundamental building block of all organic life. Carbon's secret revolves around its atomic number, 6, and the hexagonal building force that underpins nature's processes. H.P. Blavatsky tells us, there are 6 forces in nature, and the 7th, the all force, or the absolute force, which is the synthesis of all. This etheric building force impresses itself on substance in manifold ways in the natural world, such as the beautiful symmetry of the snowflake and the structure of quartz, the 2nd most abundant mineral in the Earth's continental crust. The great pollinator of the plant kingdom, the bee, reveals itself as an agent of love on its own tiny level as it builds the honeycomb, a little hexagonal structure built out of the transformed nectar from the heart of the flower. Carbon can be made particularly responsive to this 6-fold force in the ethers, as science is now discovering through its own work with carbon nanotubes. Carbon nanotubes are based on the hexagonal structure of graphite and have the highest strength-to-weight ratio of any known material, with remarkable electronic properties and many other unique characteristics. Drawing inspiration from the behavior of proteins in making biological structures, science is imitating life and engineering structures on the smallest possible scales. Drawing inspiration from the behavior of certain proteins that spontaneously self-assemble into complicated structures, researchers are using molecules and individual atoms as building blocks and endeavoring to achieve a specific geometric pattern of the atoms that these proteins are composed of on the surface of the nanotube. Researcher Gevorg Grigoryan goes on to say, "If you know the underlying atomic lattice, it means that you know how to further build around it, how to attach things to it. It's like scaffolding for future building." Now that the magnetic properties of carbon have been discovered, an added dimension has appeared that will affect future research and experimentation. In the words of Hendrik Ulldag of the Stanford Synchrotron Radiation Laboratory, "With carbon, we know how to make things very small. On the other hand, we know a lot about how to process and store information using magnetism." This opens up the door for future studies that will lead to improved magnetism in carbon that could one day mean that we will be able to combine the magnetic and the carbon world. All this work with carbon is evoking the great life that manifests itself through this element, with undreamt implications of the future. Even now, the electromagnetic waves that permeate the ethers through communication networks are having a tremendous effect on the mineral essence of the planet, accelerating its evolution and making it more adaptable for future human use. As carbon is rendered magnetic at room temperature and enters the field of electronics on a vast scale, this can only intensify. We are witnessing the spiritual electrification of the entire planet, with corresponding changes to the human organism. The key to understanding these changes lies in one of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Symmetry of form, beauty of color, strength, and the compactness of the diamond constitute bodily perfection. This sutra veils the secret of the future evolution of the human organism. It involves a new understanding of the relationship between carbon and oxygen in the physical body, eventually leading to the transformation of humanity into the diamond-souled kingdom. To understand this alchemy of carbon in the human organism, carbon as a symbol of living matter must be explored through the four basic elements. Instead of the four classical elements of alchemy, earth, air, water, and fire, we can use in a more symbolic manner the more modern chemical elements and ponder their deeper significance. Thus, the lower principles of mankind are represented by four basic elements that also form the main physical constituents of the physical body. These are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Carbon forms the backbone of biology for all life on Earth, bonding with other elements, particularly hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, to form complex molecules. In the last episode, The Cosmic Bloodstream, we saw that hydrogen and oxygen are direct precipitations of the universal ether, and they facilitate the desire to manifest on the physical plane. These four elements are also prevalent throughout the entire universe, with carbon being the symbol of organic life tantalizingly present. Hydrogen, the lightest of all gases, burns in oxygen, giving off the most intense heat of any substance in combustion, and forms water, the most stable of compounds. It is related to the principle of animal desire, which burns fiercely during the life and matter, resulting in satiety. Oxygen, the supporter of hydrogen's combustion. It is the life-giving gas and related to the human principle of prana, the active power behind all vital phenomena. These two precipitations are supported by the work of nitrogen, an inert gas, the vehicle with which oxygen is mixed to adapt the latter for animal respiration. It is related to the etheric vehicle, the inert subtle body on which the physical body is molded. Carbon, the fuel par excellence, the basis of all organic substances. It is related to the gross matter of the physical body, the substance formed and molded over the etheric vehicle by the action of prana. So to quickly recap and summarize, hydrogen is related to the astral body, oxygen related to the life principle, prana, nitrogen related to the etheric body, and carbon is related to the physical body. Carbon forms compounds with hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen to provide on the physical plane a body that reflects the vehicle of desire on the astral plane. Inversely, as a human being transcends the emotional nature and purifies the astral vehicle, the relationship between carbon and oxygen in the physical body is similarly transformed. Astral or emotional polarization becomes spiritual polarization, no longer a product of uncontrolled emotional combustion. On the physical plane, this is reflected by a reduced need for oxygen in the respiration process of the physical organism, and a transformation of its carbon content. This will be addressed more in the next episode. At present, the human breathing cycle has a less than benign effect on the environment, taking oxygen out of the atmosphere and returning carbonic acid. On the heat of the out-breath, the materialistic consciousness and separative desires of the human being manifest, fortunately redeemed by the psychic purity of the plant kingdom through the power of photosynthesis. In addition to the psychic pollution generated by our breathing, the carbon emissions produced by human enterprise in general reveal toxicity within the collective consciousness. Significantly, humanity is now working towards the curtailing of carbon emissions, which symbolizes a move towards controlling the desired nature. For the esotericist, the breath itself must be redeemed, its composition reflecting the condition of the psychic nature. During respiration, we unconsciously breathe in the psychic component of the surrounding atmosphere and breathe out our own inner psychic condition back into the world. At the point where the tide of the in-breath turns to become the out-breath, an alchemical reaction takes place between the outer and inner environments, and the resulting combination permeates the exhaled breath. Those who understand this cycle work purposefully and rhythmically with the breathing process. Contrary to popular belief, the secret cannot be discovered through specific and/or forced breathing exercises, which can over-oxygenate and therefore overstimulate the lower centers below the diaphragm. It is revealed instead through the profoundly more difficult process of self-forgetfulness, harmlessness, and right speech. These attributes open up an intuitive understanding of the law of cycles that automatically impose harmony and rhythm on the life expression, including the breathing cycle. Experienced meditators who have achieved the necessary level of dispassion can work in the lower interlude of the breathing cycle, the pause after exhalation, for an incredible length of time. This is because the amount of oxygen used by the body is in proportion to the power of the desired nature, and the more spiritualized the practitioner, the longer you can live in your own air. The spiritual occultist aspires to become as desireless and psychically pure as the plant kingdom, and like the plant, begins to alchemize carbon in the inner laboratory of their own body, which is why carbon is one of the integral parts of the Philosopher's Stone. As the practice of dispassion proceeds, a purified alchemical force, literally pervaded with love, is breathed out, carrying the magical work forward. In the words of the Tibetan, students of occultism who have demonstrated their devotion and their mental poise, and who, to use the ancient formula of the schools of meditation, have kept the 5 commandments and the 5 rules and have achieved right poise, can begin to use the interludes between the 2 aspects of physical breathing for intense activity and the use of the power of the will to produce magical effects. The consciousness focused in the brain and having participated in the work of contemplation can now proceed to work of materializing the plan upon the physical plane by the focused energy of the will, used in the silence by the conscious individual. As can be seen, these breathing interludes are also 2 in number, after inhalation and after exhalation. And the more experienced the meditator, the longer will be the interlude and the greater the opportunity, therefore, for focused magical work and for the utterance of those words of power which will make divine purpose to be. The breath literally and symbolically fans the spiritual fire of white magic on the physical plane. It forms an integral part of the great science of initiates, which might be termed esoteric dynamism, the psychology of fiery motion. Through the in-breath, the initiate takes the outer psychic environment in and raises it towards the spiritual self, while on the out-breath, energy from this level of being is poured out into the world as the will to love. The Kundalini fire is involved in this transmutation process, the force of the base of the spine rising and fusing with that of the head center to produce what the Tibetan terms the individual electric fire. Together, they circulate throughout the ventricles of the brain, the place of magical work. The white magician combines the fires of spirit and matter to build thought forms of love to fire the world with the spirit of relationship and directs them towards specific ends through the electric charge of the will nature. Just as Mercury rising in a thermometer is a physical symbol of this process, the Tibetan hints that Mercury and the center at the base of the spine in the human being are closely allied. Mercury demonstrates Kundalini in intelligent activity, while Mars demonstrates latent Kundalini. The truth lies hidden in their two astrological symbols. In transmutation and planetary geometrizing, the secret may be revealed. This process of transmutation and planetary geometrizing to which the Tibetan refers forms the esoteric science behind his directive to let the will to love fire the entire world with the spirit of relationship. And working in this way is a step, no matter how small, towards revealing the secrets of the more occult work he alludes to. For now, the focus of the aspirant to the mysteries must be on understanding the role that love plays in transmutation and planetary geometrizing, and working with it practically in meditation. Spiritual love is the great spiral architect, the builder of electromagnetic relationships between two basic forms of dynamic motion in the universe: the forward drive of the first aspect of divinity, the will, and the rotary motion of the third aspect, active intelligence. Spiritual love is a spiraling, elevating aspect of divinity that brings the two together in right relationship to one another, spinning and weaving rotating atoms of substance into forms through which the essence of love may be expressed. On the human scale, when the will to love is evoked and pours into the human frame, it raises the whole organism into a state of dynamic tension and imposes the rhythm of right relationships on all parts of the body. The human being is then in a position to work as a creative spiral architect, directing love into the world to elevate and direct subjective relationships into new forms of expression. Service of this kind wisely hastens rather than hurries the time, when, in the words of Djwhal Khul, the inner fire of the mental plane and the fire latent in the lower vehicles merges with the sacred fire of the spiritual triad, and the work is completed, and the individual stands adept. The Tibetan also gives a vision of the future of humanity, explaining that macrocosmic evolution proceeds in like manner to the microcosmic. The internal fires of the terrestrial globe, deep in the heart of our Earth, will merge with the sacred fire of the sun at the end of the greater cycle, and the solar system will then have reached its apotheosis. Little by little, as the eons slip away and the lesser cycles run their course, fire will permeate the ethers and be more recognizable and controlled until, eventually, cosmic and terrestrial fire will be at one, the bodies of all material forms adapting themselves to the ever-changing conditions. The required changes are already occurring in the forerunners of the human race, who are practicing dispassion and, as a result, initiating the transfiguration of the human vehicle through the alchemy of carbon. It may be a very long process, but this is the direction of human evolution as far as the bodies of manifestation are concerned on all planes of existence. As stated in the Yoga Sutra Patanjali earlier, symmetry of form, beauty of color, strength, and the compactness of the diamond constitute bodily perfection. In the future, humanity will become the diamond-souled kingdom, working as one to fuse spiritual and mundane fire and raise planetary kundalini. As this occurs, the whole of planetary life will shift onto etheric levels, a state unimaginable to us at the present. Several million years from now, in the next root race, or quite literally the next incarnation of the entire human species, humanity will ultimately transcend the physical plane entirely. According to Rudolf Steiner, a well-known theosophist, they will be bodies of transfigured carbon, akin to a soft diamond, the blood that circulates within as pure and passionless as the sap of the plant, as symbolized by the rosy cross of the Rosicrucian. While this is a vision for a far, far distant future, the work of those who are learning the esoteric science of energy direction is spearheading the way towards this great consummation. The immediate step forward is the practice of Raja Yoga and occult meditation to evoke the will to love. This automatically engages the central jewel of electric fire in the centers that stand behind the organs of the physical body. Safely and surely, they bring about the conditions and spiritual atmosphere in which the initiate works, where all the centers in the body can be intensified electrically at will and used simultaneously, or one at a time, according to the demand and the need which must be met. The pure, cold fire of love that shines from Venus, whose evolution is some way ahead of ours, indicates the way, as does the sulfurous, fiery atmosphere that envelops its physical body, indicating that the liberation of spirit from matter has already taken place. Both our inner and outer nature is electric, and the bridge between the two involves the newly discovered magnetic properties of carbon, as earlier referred to, which form part of the Philosopher's Stone. Added to this is the fact that modern science is not only discovering the electric and magnetic properties of carbon, but also of water, which makes up more than 80% of the physical bodies of vertebrates and plays a crucial role in the evolution of life upon planet Earth. Much of this will be explored in the next episode. The scientific discoveries now being made as to how to work electronically and magnetically with carbon and water will facilitate the passage and use of electrical energy in the world, helping humanity to transcend the physical plane and identify more with one another in terms of energy and force. At this point, the work of electric masonry, or building the carbon temple, will proceed in earnest. Transcending identification with any vehicle of consciousness, On any plane of manifestation, the divine human being will truly know themselves as a divine emanation, the Antakarana itself. The various bodies, like electric knots threaded along the spiritual thread or Antakarana, that can be activated at will when you choose to focus at a specific level of consciousness within the whole of divine manifestation. This ability is achieved by those great spiritual adepts whom we call a master of the wisdom. When the whole of humanity can do this, we will then truly be a divine ray, a point of sacrificial fire focused within the fiery will of God. Then the emanations of heat due to intensification of the inner flame, coupled with the assimilated radiation of other units, will increase and become of such proportions that the interaction between the individualized selves will result in the merging to perfection of the flame within each one. And the blending of the heat, this will proceed until there is one flame with countless sparks within it. For now, this is something to ponder. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this presentation, and if you would like to study the original article from which this video was based, the link will be provided in the video description below. In the next episode, we will explore the idea of electric tension and sacred space. So be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all future content from Monadic Media. And if you're feeling generous, consider contributing to our Patreon, as it greatly supports our work. And remember, next time you exhale, reflect on the quality of the thought which preceded it.